I'm sure within the books you read about the 1969 Morocco conference, which was held in Tanzania. There was an issue that was raised because the acting president then was Comrade Owen Tambo. Since when Comrade Mandela and them were arrested, he was the president at the time of the ANC, and Owen Tambo was his deputy. So now when they were taken to Robben Island, there was a way of smuggling through information, and Comrade Owen Tambo was given a task by the NEC to say he must continue the struggle outside of the country. Hence, this thing of exile began. Moving forward, when there was the structure of the military wing, there was an issue which Comrade Chris already spoke about. Because there's this thing of elitism, or people who were then chosen. I think you should recall from my background of the history of my father. I told you for him it was a bit different because he was both within the military and was also sent to school. But the majority of comrades, there were those who were perhaps coming from more privileged backgrounds, who were never in the trenches, who never partook in any military activity, who were just sent to school directly. So then there became a rift between the two because there was the military executive committee, which was in charge of MK, and then there was the National Executive Committee, which was in charge of a more political side of things. So they started to clash because now the ones in the military camps felt that we're struggling, we're in camps, we don't have food, we don't have transport. We've got these who are sent to nice schools who are not partaking in these activities. Even when they came back now, you'll find other people, it's true, within the countries that were sponsoring the armed force, you'll find that some of the leadership who were receiving the monies directly were not then taking that money and utilizing it to assist other comrades in the camps and things. You'd find out that this person is driving a Mercedes-Benz. How is he driving a Mercedes-Benz in the 80s, whereby he's supposed to be in exile in camps, struggling like the rest of us? Where in camps he's driving Benzes, wearing expensive suits, having expensive watches. So there was always been a challenge since the, I'd say, early 70s between the soldiers, military soldiers, and some of the NEC members of the ANC. I'd like to talk about also the question you raised about the unions and how most leaders today are coming from the unions. You'll also find that in books. I'm not going to mention names of people throughout this explanation. But from its formation, if you look at NUM, just go and search who actually started the National Union of Mine Workers. And you'll be surprised it's the very same oppressors who are in charge of the economy today. Then they went and put black faces there to say, no, these unionists are speaking on behalf of the workers, which is the false truth. So anyway, also now coming to CODESA, I think another gentleman was talking about CODESA and the negotiations. Fast forward again. With the different groupings within the leadership of the ANC, there were those who would have secret meetings, secret talks, which were not really solicited or where they were not really mandated to do so. Some were talking to the South African government, some were talking to the British government. So, which was actually a challenge for Comrade Tambo, finding out that some of his generals are actually having different discussions which they were not mandated by the executive committee to do so. But because he was a disciplined comrade and would like to take everything to democracy, he realized and said that if there's this thing that they're saying that within the negotiations that which they had on the side, there's a possibility of his lifelong friend and comrade and leader, Comrade Nelson Mandela, to be released, since he was the face of the liberation of the country. Perhaps you should listen to them. Then they started the talks, CODESA 1, 2, until 1993, when they agreed to go to elections. There also had to be a compromise. There was a big challenge with the first conference within the country, which was held in, if I'm not mistaken, 91 one in Natal, whereby Comrade Chauke was contesting Comrade Chris Hani. Now, because of that rift, there had to be a decision that was taken to not allow them to contest each other. And they took the old man, Utatu Sisulu, to make him the deputy president, to avoid that issue of the so-called educated and the MK leaders, just to try, calm things down. Then there was the issue of unionists who were supposed